But if they don't, we'll start. He started last week, and I think he's going to have a favorable matchup against that terrible Jacksonville defense. Welcome to Pigskin Passion TV, and it's your boy, the Black Mamba. It's season 2, episode number 71. And guys, we back for another week of fantasy football. And what a first 3 weeks of the season has been, guys. For the third straight week, I had a very close matchup, and this may be the most entertaining fantasy football game I've ever had. And I mean that literally. I mean, it was so many back and forths as far as the score is concerned. 1 minute it looked like I had the game, the next minute he'd come back. So going into last night's game, I was up pretty big, and my guy here, he had Josh Allen and Jamar Chase. So I knew that in order for him to come back and beat me, Josh Allen would have to have a monster game. And I was up, I think it was 83-42 going into last night's game. And guys, when I tell you Josh Allen, he closed the gap before halftime. And at halftime, as you can see here, he had 263 yards with 4 touchdowns. At halftime, guys, he had 247 yards with 4 touchdowns. So basically, he had this number here at halftime. And I was like, there's no way I'm gonna win this game, because Jacksonville, they couldn't stop Buffalo last night. The only way Josh Allen could be stopped was when Josh Allen stopped himself, and he came out of the game in the third quarter. And I was like, woo, because had he stayed in, he could have easily threw for about 450, 500 yards with another 2 or 3 TDs, because Jacksonville, they couldn't stop my local high school the way they were playing defense last night. This is the first week I've had 100 plus points, and I needed every bit of that, because I think I was playing what may be one of the best teams in the league. I really like his team. His running back duo didn't perform like they normally do. If they had, he probably would have won. But my team, for the most part, showed up. I gotta give a fantasy baller to my boy, Joe Cool Hand Burrow, who pulled me out. I was down, I think it was 115-113 when they got the ball, or 111. No, it was 113. So basically, I needed for him to get at least 27 yards to get me a bonus. Anytime in my league there's 300 plus yard passers, they get a bonus of 4 points. So he got the 27 yards, put me in lead, and I never relinquished that lead after that. So for that, Joe Cool Hand Burrow gets my fantasy baller. And my fantasy buster has to go to those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How do you let a team that has not been able to get 13 points per game just dominate? I mean, it was 17-0 at one point in this game. This has been a crazy year for football. So as much as I was surprised, I shouldn't have been surprised. But my fantasy buster goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And with that, guys, let's jump into my fantasy waiver wire pickups this week. I don't really have any waiver wire pickups. I'm planning to I'll probably do my normal and pick up a defense, but I got some waiver wire pickups for you guys. And at quarterback, Geno Smith would be a pickup that I would be targeting. Through the first 3 weeks, he's had a top 10 finish at quarterback. And if you wanted to go a little bit deeper than that, he scored 18 fantasy points in 7 straight games if you date that back to last year. And with Kenneth Walker banged up, I don't know if he's going to play this week. I think that they may lean more on the passing game, even with Zach Charbonnet back there, which I have him on my team. He had a decent day, but I don't think they plan to really use him like they use Kenneth Walker. I think the game plan would probably be pass centered around throwing and then running the ball. So I like Geno as a pickup. Another pickup that I like at quarterback, if you're struggling at that position, is Sam Darnold. Minnesota really has been a surprise team this season. I wasn't expecting them to be the team that they are right now. And I think a lot of that has to do with Sam Darnold. He's played the quarterback position really well. Last game, I don't think he didn't have any interceptions, and he threw 4 touchdowns. And through the first 3 games of the year, he's had 8 touchdowns. So with that said, I think he could consistently be a top 15 quarterback going forward for the rest of the season. All right, and let's get to running back. And I think most of these guys probably will be off or should be gone in your league, guys. But if they are, you guys need to hurry up and scoop these guys if they are on the waiver wire in your league. Number 1 being Bucky Irving. He's been the best running back on Tampa Bay's team this whole year, even though he's not the starter. I think his workload could increase going forward. He's definitely averaging more yards per carry than Rachaad White. And you can just tell, I didn't watch last week's game, but you can just tell whenever you watch a Tampa Bay game that he's definitely the best running back that they have. I don't know if that's going to translate to the coach giving him more playing time, but I would definitely scoop him up. And at the very worst, he could be a flex position player for you. And next is Braylon Allen of the New York Jets. If he's out there, guys, he's definitely a must-have. The Jets are using him to keep Breece Hall fresh this season, which is a smart move because Breece is coming off. He's in his second year coming off an ACL injury. So I think that Braylon Allen is a good flex player, and if something just so happens to go wrong with Breece Hall, I think he would easily step in and be the number 1 guy there. And next at running back is Cam Akers. Now, this is more of a short-term rental. If you need a running back, I wouldn't count on having him in my starting lineup any more than 1 or 2 weeks. I'm not sure if Joe Mixon or Dameon Pierce will suit up this week, but if they don't, Akers will start. He started last week, and I think he's going to have a favorable matchup against that terrible Jacksonville defense. They couldn't stop anybody last night. But I think Cam Akers would be a good matchup this week if he gets the start. And another guy that I would target if he's available in your league, and out of everybody, this guy's more than likely to be available, and that's Roschon Johnson. Through the first 2 weeks, he didn't see any carries with the Chicago Bears. And last week, he had 8 carries. And I think as the season goes on, his role could increase because Andre Swift has been producing duds for the first couple of weeks, which is why he saw more action last week. Andre Swift is averaging 1.8 yards a carry. And guys, that's not going to cut it in the NFL. So if Roschon is available in your league, if you have room, I would definitely go and stash him and kind of see how that situation plays out. Because if it continues the way it is, I don't see DeAndre Swift continuing to be the number 1 running back. And at wide receiver, Darrell Mooney. And guys, I'm beginning to like this guy. To me, he's been the most consistent wide receiver on the Atlanta Falcons team this year. And it seems like him and I've been calling him Kirby, but now I got to put some respect on his name and call him Kirk Cousins. because Mooney has been the player that seems like Kirk goes to when he needs a big play. So if he's available, then he would be the number one receiver that I would target. Like I say, he's been more consistent. He may not be able to give you the TDs every week, but it seems like he's at least getting the yardage. Another wide receiver that I would look at, and this is more of a short-term rental, is Jawan Jennings of the San Francisco 49ers. This week, he was the best passing option with Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey not being in the lineup. And he had a really nice stat line, which was 11 catches for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. So you may be kind of having to bid a little bit more than if you had got him last week, but he's definitely somebody, if you need a quick fix, that I would go after. Before last week's game, he only had one game where he got over 64 yards. And I would only consider him a short-term rental unless Samuel and Kittle go on IR. The next wide receiver is Mike Williams. And his role seemed to be limited last week. And it could have been because of a couple of different things. It could have been because they were blowing the Patriots out, or it could have been because it was a short week. But if you have some room on your bench and you're not in a big hurry for wide receiver production, I would definitely pick up Williams and stash him. I think it could pay some dividend later on in the year. I think as the year goes on, he'll create more rapport with Aaron Rodgers. So if you have room on your bench and you just want to play the weight game, I definitely would stash Mike Williams. And at tight end, Tyler Conklin of the New York Jets. Last week, he had a career high of 93 yards receiving against the Patriots. And one of the most important things was he seems to have the trust of Aaron Rodgers, which, you guys know that if Rodgers does not trust you, you're not going to get the ball. So, he kept going back to Tyler time and time again. I think that was a good sign, and I think he would be a good pickup if he's available in your league. The next tight end is Cole Kmet, and this guy may have been dumped in your league because he hasn't been producing, which is for the most part, any tight end that you have, tight ends is just a hit or miss position. But he is more than likely available in your league. And if he is, I would probably go out there and pick him up. Last week, he had a really good stat line of 10 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. The only thing is, I don't know how many times Caleb Williams will be throwing the ball 52 times, but I think that's still a good pickup simply because at this rate, I think Williams will have to change his style from holding the ball so long to actually getting it out. So Cole Kmet, if he's available, I'd go scoop him up. And as always, guys, I'll be streaming my defense this week. And I think this may be the only move I try to make this week. I may try to finagle doing a trade. I like getting production like this off of my bench and getting it into the lineup. So I may go out there and see if anybody has like a number one receiver that I can trade for and they need a quarterback and replace Waddle, because with Tua out, I don't know how much production I'll be able to get out of this guy. But back to what we were originally talking about, defenses. I have Seattle's defense and I have Tampa Bay's defense right now. So my defense that I'm planning to go out and bid for this week is the Tennessee Titans. And they just so happen to be playing the Miami Dolphins this week. And they'll either be playing the backup, who is Skylar Thompson, or the third string quarterback, which is, I think his name was Tim Boyle. He came in after Thompson got hurt last week. And I think they actually signed Tyler Huntley on the practice squad, which I think he's a pretty decent quarterback. But anytime you're going against a backup quarterback, you got to go out there and test and see what they're going to be able to do. Miami's offense didn't score any touchdowns last week. So I'll be willing to go out there and get Tennessee's defense and take a chance. I did it with Tampa Bay. You see what they did. Nothing. And at the very least, I can fall back on Seattle if I'm not able to get one of these three defenses. And let's just see which one is available. So the next defense, if they're available, is the New Orleans Saints. They have not allowed 20 points in a game, and they're getting over 2 turnovers a game. They are also averaging about 3 sacks a game. So I like the fact that they have kind of shown a sample size that the defense is not going to give up many points, and they're going to get some sacks. In addition to that, the Falcons just lost their guard, Drew Dalman, to a high ankle. And I don't know what his backup is going to look like, but that could spell some trouble for Kirk Cousins. So the Saints would be the next defense if I'm not able to get the Titans this week. And my third defense is the Arizona Cardinals. And most people wasn't expecting the Cardinals to be as good as they are this year. And they've proved us wrong because they're actually pretty good right now. And they held the Rams to 10 points and Detroit to 20 points. They're averaging like 3 sacks a game. And the Commanders are giving up 3.5 sacks a game. I know the Commanders had a great game last night, but you got to look at the numbers. And I mean, I like the matchup. I think that they'll be able to put a little pressure on Daniels. So, I mean, they offer a high ceiling, which I'm willing to take a chance. So those are my 3 defenses that I'll be going after this week. And guys, like always, I hope that this has been valuable information to you. I hope your team is doing well. And if not, hey, just keep plugging this waiver wire, guys. The waiver wire is where it's at. This is where you can actually change the momentum of your league, and you get a good player that's going to make a difference. So with that being said, guys, I got a public service announcement. Spike that like, comment, subscribe, and it's your boy, the Black Mamba, out.